All right, it's Coach B back. Coach Reeves over at Warrior Elementary. We're here all day long, kicking it with Coach Reeves. Just really understanding his curriculum, his program. With another part of the interview with his curriculum, we're gonna interview him firsthand about his PE program, his administrative staff, colleagues, students, course of study guide, just all this, that, and the above to get these questions answered. So without further ado, we got Mr. Coach Reese here. Coach, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Just jump on in. Tell me how long you've been doing this.
This is my 10th year, so I'm going into my 4th year. Got a late start, but I think I've jumped in and got a good feel for it.
All right, so you said, and I'm going to just carry a couple of your accolades. Teacher of the Year, second round teacher, Vice President Hill. Your numbers are good for general for participation, well known amongst the ACE staff, P in Jefferson County. You're on a lot of administrative teams, boards. How do you do it? How do you find time to do all of that and come and teach your classes, deliver your curriculum, and spend time serving as a male mentor here at this school?
Well, I haven't achieved it yet, but I try to find a great balance. And the most important thing is finding that balance, because I don't want to take away from my family and then give too much to the school. But when you have a supportive staff at home, and my wife is very supportive, she actually quit her job and went into teaching because she saw the fun and passion that I have for teaching. And when I got Teacher of the Year, she really thought long and hard, and she quit her job, and now she's teaching computers over at Oak Grove High School. But again, going back to the question, it's about that balance. When you show up and you think today's not going to be a good day, and you show up and you see one of these kids that they're still got the drive, they're keeping their joy somehow, and they slept in the car the night before. And how can you not show up and be ready to perform and give your best to somebody that's in a situation like that? So looking in these eyes, I don't want to cheat these kids out of anything. So I try to bring my best every day.
Gotcha. Coach, with that being said, when do you find time to work on your curriculum?
It's always after school. Most of the times, if I can get it in after practice, most of the time it's going to be done on the weekends. Okay. But most of the time it's going to be after school. Try to get ahead so I can have my weekends free. It would be ideal for me to have a planning period to do it, but I don't get one of those. So,
what's strengths and your weaknesses in your curriculum when you're teaching your kids? And I know you got pre-K through 5th grade, so you can even elaborate this question to where you specifically to a grade level. The strength and weaknesses of your curriculum.
I think one of the strengths is the Hill program that I do, and I do it with 2nd through 5th, and we're in a trial model this year with 2nd and 3rd grade. But it really shows the kids how to get into their heart rate zone and stay there. And that's the trick, is finding your target heart rate zone and staying in it. And they all know it's 140 to 170. Okay, great. But how do you get in that zone and stay in that zone? And that's one of the benefits of having the heart rate monitors that we have, because they can constantly check their heart rate and see if they're in that zone. And then once you're in that zone, now you got to try to stay in there 10 to 15 minutes. When we first started doing it, they come in and say, Coach, my heart rate's up to 220. Yeah, that's good, but you can't stay in that zone for a long time. So one of the strengths I feel is getting the kids to understanding the importance of being healthy, but also how to achieve it. And I guess one of my weaknesses is it's just not enough time in the day to implement everything I want to. It's so many things that's going against me throughout a day. Not having time to prepare for the classes they come in. So, I go from 2nd grade to 5th grade, and it's not ideal for you to do the same thing with 5th grade that you did with 2nd grade. So that's one of the weaknesses that I'm still trying to maneuver against, and, try to have things similar at the same time, make some minor adjustments to it.
Now, and with that being said, now how does your curriculum organize from week to week, year to year? How do you make your modifications?
Okay, well, the modifications for, you mean like severe kids? Or?
Severe, your inclusion, or if you feel like your kids aren't, let's say we're teaching golf today, and let's say that you notice that your 3rd graders hadn't performed like your perception that they should be performing. How do you make those adjustments?
Oh, we'll repeat it. We also, at the end of every unit, toward the end of every unit, we'll take a written test on it also. They take their test online, so it's quicker for me. I don't have to grade all the papers. I go on Google Classroom, and they all sit at their computers and take the test.
That was my next leadoff question. That what kind of formative and summative assessment do you do to see if your kids are gaining that acquired knowledge you want them to have? Because I know when I walked around and talked to certain kids, they were able to spit back information, say, my target heart rate is this, or we supposed to be doing this. This is how we grip the golf club, and our eyes should be over the ball, nose should be over the tip of the ball. So I can tell that these kids are learning.
Also with fifth grade, we do peer assessments also. So they're checking each other's grip. Then they're eventually going to get the grip down.
Gotcha.
You know, and then if they're checking off that somebody's got the grip, and I walk around and see that somebody doesn't have the grip, then we get to talk about honesty. But for the most part, they're pretty honest, and everybody wants everybody to succeed at what we're trying to accomplish.
Now, when it comes to the instructional mode, are you more teaching in a sport ed model, multi-activity, character development type program? What facet do you kind of filter your curriculum out of?
It's very eclectic. You know, 1 week we're gonna do our sport units. We're gonna hit golf, basketball, baseball, and then we're gonna go and do the bully unit. You know, we got to cover that because you know there's a problem with bullying.
Yeah.
So we're gonna dive into that. And the thing with character, we get them to every year they're gonna do their commercials. So we give them the things to do the commercials on, but then they're also developing character because a lot of kids, they say they can't get up in front of people. Well, they get up in front of people and they do their commercials, whether it's on heart disease, whether it's on eating healthy vegetables, grains, whatever. And I think that's great for the kids. It gives them another avenue. You want to introduce them to as many things as we can. Everybody can't be great at basketball and baseball, so that's why we introduce golf. That's why I'm trying to get certified now to teach archery.
Gotcha.
So that's another unit I want to bring in. And that goes to the kids that are usually good at that are math kids. So just incorporating another core subject into the.
You're hitting on all cylinders because I spoke with a few of the teachers in an interview and talked about how do you incorporate how their curriculum incorporating the PE and how it's PE vice versa go back into the classroom. They spoke very highly because disciplinary, such as even with the spatial awareness, the kids knowing how to walk in a line or be in their comfort zone. Next question, what role do standards play in your curriculum as far as the NASB and the CT standards?
They're very important. Whenever I plan out a lesson plan, the first thing I do is I go in and use the Alabama State standards, the course of study standards. And I always, because of the foundation I built in college, go and use the NASB standards as well.
Gotcha. And now,
so my goal is always to hit every single standard within, each 9 weeks. And that's always a challenge because, some of the standards you shouldn't hit, depending on what unit you do, but we always find a way to incorporate it, no matter what day of the week it is. We have a trend of starting and then growing, but at some point in time, we have a day where we're just going to run and get your heart rate up that particular day, and then with the characterization and socialization skills, that's always a tough one for the younger kids. But we have to teach them the proper way to socialize and share and take turns and all that.
All right, a couple more questions. I want to ask you, do you collaborate with other physical educators about your curriculum and also on the district level? And I know with Ken Story, I've seen you in many conferences in action. How do you build that support? And when you collaborate with other teachers, do you offer your advice, retrieve their advice to enrich your program?
Well, the most important thing for me to do is remember I've only been doing this for 4 years. So if I keep that in mind, I'm always looking to, I'm going to use his word and just steal. I'm always trying to steal new ideas because I've always heard don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Gotcha.
But as far as working with other teachers, I get more of that in at conferences. So I'm going to the spring conference coming up soon. I always try to present at the fall conference, and I just look for teachers and get new ideas from them. And on the district level, yes, Kim Kane, you know, she's brought a couple people out to the program, and you know, my goal and my wish is to get out and go see some other programs as part of professional development. And you know, I've always wanted you to come out here and teach a basketball unit while I go to your school and teach a dance unit. I don't know why we can't make that happen.
You know, and I concur. We just spoke a while ago that we need to start making that happen. Maybe we need to be the voice for reason and say, hey, bosses, we want to go out and incorporate certain things on a elementary, middle, and high school level, because one thing I know, Trisha, you know this, is that once kids get to middle school and high school, their curriculum bases drop, and it's more, I'm going to focus in on my targeted athletes because I got XYZ going on, or I'm trying to make sure nobody gets touched inappropriately, or I got a major disciplinary issue. Now, I know I was at Irondale Middle School and talked with the coaches. They had imagine yourself with 150 kids, middle school. Let's say you had 150 kids in your gym right now. Could you deliver the same curriculum right now?
It's not possible. It's not possible. You need an aid. I need an aid. I mean, it's ridiculous the situations that they put PE teachers into. But also, you know, overcoming those obstacles, I think, you know, like you said, once they get to middle school, PE is dead. You know, that's one of the reasons I went into PE, because even at some elementary levels, they're still rolling out the ball. And so when my son, I would ask him, I said, what'd you do in PE today? Dodgeball. And what'd you do in PE today? Basketball. So all he did every day was dodgeball, basketball. When he got to middle school, what's he doing? Dodgeball, basketball. Oh, and then they do the fitness test. All right, what'd you do? Dodgeball. What'd you do? Basketball. Oh, we did fitness test. So those are three things he did all through his middle school. Now he's in high school. Now he does dodgeball, basketball, and mat ball. And that's all he's done this year. Dodgeball, basketball, mat ball.
Coach, well, we're going to pause it here for a minute. We got a couple more questions. We'll wrap it up, but I know you got a class coming in. So this is part one of an interview with Coach Reeves and about his overall protection of his own program. So stay tuned. We'll be back. Appreciate it, Coach.
Yes, sir.